views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola everyone, welcome to OpenBX RX Remote, brought to you from my living workspace, Charby Executive Suite. I'm Rina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll speak to the executive director, creator, and founder of Black Women Radicals, Jamie A. Swift, about her Black feminist advocacy organization dedicated to uplifting and centering Black women and gender-expansive people. Then we'll speak to pastry chef and co-owner of Mo and J Pastry, Jaleesa Mason, as she discusses how her love for all things natural and sweet landed her a spot to compete in the Food Network's new season of Spring Baking Championship. After that, we'll be joined by Artistic Director of the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance, Arthur Aviles, as he discusses this year's Badass Women Festival. And later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on poet and spoken word artist Mel Shante with a performance at the end of the show. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way because now we are officially open. Welcome to Open. Happy Women's History Month. I'm Rina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour, inviting you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, don't forget, follow moi on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rina Valentin. Our first guest is the executive director, creator, and founder of Black Women Radicals, a Black feminist advocacy organization dedicated to uplifting and celebrating and centering Black women and gender-expansive people's radical activism in Africa and in the African diaspora. She is also the creator and founder of the School for Black Feminist Politics, the Black Feminist Political Education arm of Black Women Radicals. The mission of SBFP is to empower Black feminism in Black politics by expanding the field from transnational, intersectional, and multidisciplinary perspectives. Here now to share more is the executive director, creator, and founder of Black Women Radicals, Jamie A. Swift. Hello and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, happy Women's History Month to you.
Yes, you too.
Yes, and we acknowledge you and we thank you for making sure that our voices are on record and our own history is being captured by our own people and passed on to the next generation as precise as possible, right? And so let's just start with, I want to know for you, right? I mean, you're a professor as well, and what inspired you to even create this collective?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that question. So I started Black Women Radicals as an idea during my graduate program, and I study a very niche subfield of political science, Black politics. And I just found that within the, academic discourse and the syllabi and things of that nature, Black women and gender expansive people were not being represented. And that's a problem, right? Because if you have these revisionist histories or Black women and gender expansive people are not included, like you said before, these histories get passed down and passed on, right? And so that's why I started Black Women Radicals, and surprisingly, it has grown more than what I could ever imagine. So just thanking everyone for this support.
Well, I think what your mission is, it's very important and very needed, and it's definitely something that needs to be modeled, I want to say, by every culture, right? Because the idea is that we're telling our own stories. And so you have like these subdivisions, or I don't know what you were referring to them, like offspring sectors that are part of it. Do you care to share them all with us? I mean, we can't elaborate on each, area, but I think it's lovely to see what it's grown into.
Yes. So we have various pillars within our mission, vision, values. So one, community conversations, just monthly events that we have, and we have several. We have our blog, Voices in Movement, where we literally interview like Black feminists from around the world, and just super excited about honoring Miss Denise Oliver Velez, leader of the Young Lords Party.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, she's so amazing. Miss Erica Huggins, leader of the Black Panther Party, and among many others. And then we have our, School for Black Feminist Politics teach-ins. And then we also have a partnership with the Asian American Feminist Collective and the Asian American Writers Workshop. And it's called the Black and Asian Feminist Solidarities Project. So we're just busy.
To say the least.
Yes,
so
yes.
It's lovely. It's lovely. And it's so inspirational. And I want our viewers and anyone who is interested in, being a part of this and or contributing to it. So explain to us how it actually works, right? Because I know you have your website, you have the monthly conversations, you have the voices. So do people contribute? Like, do you have open calls? Like, what does that look like?
So really, Black Women Radicals runs on the power and trust of Black feminists from around the world. And so what does that mean? For example, for our school and also for our events, and also for the Voices and Blog movement, and also for our database, which houses 100 plus profiles of historical Black women leaders, we literally invite people to lead these efforts, right? So last week we launched our 2022, School for Black Feminist Politics series with Bria Johnson, who led the first teach-in on the transformative teachings of June Jordan. And we pay people, right? And that's so important because oftentimes Black women and gender expansive people's labor is not compensated, and we do it for our community, but we pay, we invite, and we center and trust Black feminists in their expertise. And so we run on the power of Black feminist possibilities, and that's what we do.
I know you run on integrity, which is an important factor in getting things like this accomplished. Really, I mean, just in everything you just shared, right? Because there's all those other aspects to it that also play a role in language that you're even using, the intersectionality. You and I were having a conversation about that prior to getting on air, and what that looks like in today's society, and how it's a term that's being used quite frequently now. And so this, what you just shared, kind of also loans itself to that as well, right? In identifying it as either one or the other. And so I'm just curious to know, like, do you have like a main team that oversees the invitees? Like what does that look like?
So surprisingly, for a long time, it was just me, and no one knew it was me. I built Black Women Radicals for a year and some change silently, because it can't be a microwave rush project when you're working with Black feminists, right? This is a love project for me. And so super excited, right, to now finally build a team. So we have an amazing visual designer. Her name is Doriana Diaz, right? We have a wonderful Black feminist migrations and movement writer, Nana Brontuo. Carla Mendez is also a writer for the blog Voices in Movement. We're actually bringing on an amazing young person. Actually, they're a student of mine who's going to be working to update the bios in our database, Jaden, right? So just excited to have a team, right? Because oftentimes Black women lead these efforts and don't have help, or they're not compensated, or they're using their own money, right? And so I did all those things, and I don't want to be burned out. And so I'm happy that we are able to receive a grant, the Meyer Grant, of the Fund for Black-Led Change Meyer Grant, to continue to do this work. It's
wonderful. And before we go, what do you want people to leave with when they visit this website that almost serves as a hub to like this very important and crucial information?
I want people to know that Black women and gender expansive people have always been at the vanguard of community organizing, radical movement building, whether in the US or in the African diaspora on the African continent. And it's not just the people that we look to, like I love Dr. Angela Y. Davis, but they're also our mothers, our other mothers, our aunties, biological and chosen kin. There's Black feminists in Latin America and the Caribbean, on the continent, in Europe, right? All over the world. And so I want people to know the entirety and the totality and the fullness of our work, because it's been overshadowed, erased. And just simply, we have been here and always have been, and we will always be here. You can't get rid of us.
I love it. Thank you. And thank you for bringing it here to our viewers. And thank you for being at the forefront of being the historian that you are, and making sure you're passing it on to the next generation. Thank you, Jamie A. Swift. And for more on Black Women Radicals, you can visit blackwomenradicals.com, and on Instagram at Black Women Radicals. We have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about a local pastry chef bringing her Harlem flair to the new season of Spring Baking Championship on the Food Network. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back. Our next guest is a pastry chef and co-owner of Mo and J Pastry. She is a Spanish Harlem native with a passion for all things natural and sweet. And after changing her trajectory from medicine to the hospitality industry, she studied at the Culinary Institute of America, where she found her craft as both a sugar artist and cake decorator. With background in classical French culinary, Jaleesa and her husband opened up Mo and J Pastry, producing gourmet madeleines to finessing eclairs, combining old school techniques with new school flavors as Oreo, strawberry basil, and Nutella. That sounds so delicious, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, Jaleesa is now bringing that Spanish Harlem flair and all these natural and sweet to the Food Network's season 8 of Spring Baking Championship, competing amongst 12 other pastry chefs for a prize of $25,000. And here to share more is Jaleesa Mason. Hey. Oh my. And who do you have on your lap, Jaleesa?
This is my baby girl, Olive. Say hi, Monica. Say hi.
Hi, Olive. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, wow. I got to tell you, I just started watching you on the actual, what is it, the Spring Bake competition, right? And what I think we're like 3 episodes in, and it's been a nice ride so far. And I'm not gonna lie, because I know you're from East Harlem. I'm really like, that's my girl, only because I'm feeling the flavor you're bringing in. Now, I did hear that you've traveled throughout Europe, and that we did mention that you have your own bakery, but let's just talk about how you first even got into the competition.
Oh, so it's funny. I think, so they approached me in the summertime, and I think my daughter was like 8 weeks old, and they approached me on Instagram. It was a recruiting company that the Food Network hired. And I didn't know that at the time. At the time when they reached out to me, I thought it was a scam, because it wasn't like, oh, here's my email at blah, blah, blah at foodnetwork.com. It was at a weird email address. So I was like, scam. So I ignored it. And then a couple of days later, I think maybe a week later, I kept getting emails, I kept getting phone calls, and I was like, okay, maybe this is legitimate. And so when I talked to my husband about it, I said, what if like this is legitimate? Like, this is like crazy. And he was like, well, do you want to do it? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just gave birth, and like the bakery, well, at the time we had no staff. So it was just my husband and I in a bakery. And I was like, I don't think this is the right time. You have a baby and 2 kids, no childcare, COVID's crazy. Like, this is not the right time. And he was like, okay, all things aside, like, pretend it's a perfect world. Would you even want to do a competition on Food Network? And I was like, yeah, that would be dope. He was like, then we'll figure it out. Point blank, we'll figure it out. And I was like, I don't know, I'm going to do that. And then we ended up figuring it out. But yeah, it was weird at first. I didn't think it was legitimate.
Well, that's awesome, and thanks for sharing that. That just goes to show you all the possibilities that come from social media platforms appropriately, right? And
right.
And accordingly, right? Because if you're into a certain business, then that's really what you want to be showcasing, right?
Exactly.
Because that's the kind of attention you want to attract. So as I watch you multitask and I've been following you on the show, I noticed that in episode 2, you had a major breakdown, a panic attack, for lack of a better word, on air, and they actually showed it. I found that to be a brave action on your part to allow them to show the whole process.
You know, I don't have any control over the filming and the editing, so I didn't know they were actually going to put that part in the episode or not.
How did you feel about that initially?
You know, I felt really mixed. My thing is, up until the episode, like when we're watching the episode live on TV, me and my husband, I'm like, I knew what happened in the episode. He does not. So my thing is, like, I was anxious because I'm like, I have no idea what they're going to show, if they're going to put that part in or not. And it turns out they did. And I feel like I was a little bit worried because they made it seem as if, like, oh, the pressure of the competition was getting to me. And what happened was I felt faint because I was not taking care of myself, because I was pumping nonstop around the clock, and I was not re-nourishing myself. And my body just had enough. And so I started to feel faint. And when I started to feel faint and I realized I was fainting during the time challenge, that triggered my panic attack. Because when I realized it's happening, 1, I'm being filmed. 2, you know, competitions is happening right now. I have money on the line. So I'm like, oh my God, why now? So then I started panicking because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna waste time. I'm not gonna be able to finish, you know. So I triggered a panic attack from all these thoughts. And I think, you know, thank God Cartier was there as someone who also suffers from anxiety, because she knew exactly what to say and how to help me. The other judges, I feel like they wanted to help, but they looked very overwhelmed looking at me. But Cartier was the one that was like, okay. Cartier was the one that was like, I got you. I've been through this. I'm gonna help you count down with me. Like, she got me back down to 0. It was like, we're gonna get you all right. So thank God for her and the medic. The medic helped me, you know, get back to my counseling too. Was checking my breathing, took my blood to make sure my sugar wasn't too low. Like, she was doing her job too. But I had to thank the whole staff, you know, but I had to take care of myself when I wasn't. And one thing they didn't put in the interview on Food Network was that I was a pumping mom. And that part mattered because it was the reason why I fainted to begin with.
No, well, and thank you for sharing that and for breaking it down to us and sharing your truth, right? I mean, look at you right now. You're conducting this interview. You've got Charlie, the taste tester, and Oliver, and the other one. I mean, that's some serious multitasking. So it's nice that you at least know your limits, that you are aware of your limits. But before we go, I do want to share how you have been selling the I guess the experiments, right? Because I'm not quite sure if, like, when you made the hibiscus cake, is that something that you've done in the past, or something that you created for the competition? The Mardi Gras cake also, like, are these cakes that you're designing specifically for the competition and creating on the spot?
These cakes are exactly that. So I have never baked or cooked with hibiscus before. I've had it before. I've drunk sorrel before. Like, I'm from New York City, like tons of Caribbean influence, right? So I'm used to the drink. I know the flavor profile, but I have never baked with it or cooked with it. But it is truly inspiring to me to work with hibiscus because I'm all about extract and dye-free. And hibiscus gives you exactly that. So when I got hibiscus as my flavor, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yes. So the hibiscus cake, I won it. To be honest with you, I won it. The jam, I knew what I was doing, but the actual cake itself, I had to wing it. And what's crazy is, what people don't understand is, you know, when I'm presenting the cake to the judges, I have no idea what it tastes like. So it wasn't until I recreated for my store that I actually got a whole entire taste of it. And I was like, damn, this is really good.
I think that's so smart of you, though, to do that, right? To
Yeah.
on air and then go, hey, look, we're selling it for a week. How have your sales been since?
Skyrocketed. So I had people coming in just because, oh, I saw you on Food Network. I want to taste the hibiscus cake. The judges went crazy for this praline cake. I want to taste it. I want to taste it. Like, sales have been going up. And if you know anything about hospitality industry, winter is brutal. Winter is a tough time for sales. And so the fact that we got that boost at the end or the very beginning of March, oh yeah, thank God, because, like, you know, hospitality had a huge hit during COVID as it is. So having that was really good.
So before we go, what can you share in what we can look forward to for the rest of the season?
You can look forward to seeing me being quintessentially me, somebody who is someone who was constantly multitasking. I was constantly running, which I think you guys saw in the background everywhere. But I was just trying to do my best and to give the judges what they wanted. I try to do a wide variety of things to not be boring. But, you know, I just want everyone to know, regardless of the results, that I tried my absolute best and I gave it my all.
That's lovely. And I got to tell you, you're a true inspiration for all moms out there, because, you know, part of the thing about becoming a mom is that we tend to put ourselves on the back burner. And while, yes, you do have 2 children to care for, you know, it's lovely to see that you've been able to incorporate them into this next chapter of your life, not only as a mom, but as somebody who's still pursuing her dreams. And on top of that, having it documented. So I just want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I don't want moms to feel like pumping is a handicap, or you can't do something, or breastfeeding is going to hinder you. It does not. Just make sure you take care of yourself. You absolutely can do anything you put your mind to it, and if you eat.
Exactly. It's very important for all of us to
eat and drink.
Eat and drink, especially when you're over there competing on season 8 of the Spring Baking Championship on the Food Network. All right, Jalisa, everyone. And hey, if you guys want to watch her continue competing on the Food Network's season 8 of Spring Baking Championship, that's happening on Mondays at 8 p.m. And if you're interested on Mo and Jay Pastries, right, you can visit their website at moandjpastry.com and check them out on at Mo_and_J_pastry and at Sugar Chef. Oh, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance 2022 Badass Women Festival. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. Our next guest is the Artistic Director of the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance, also known as BAD, a performing and visual art workshop space and performance venue that creates, produces, presents, and supports the development of cutting-edge and challenging works in contemporary dance and all creative disciplines that are empowering to women, Latinos, and people of color, as well as the LGBTQ community. Their 2022 Badass Women Festival showcases yet another group of talented women. And here to share more is no stranger to the show and my dear friend. He is the Artistic Director of the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance. Please welcome Arthur Vilas.
Oh, thank you so much, Rena. Thank you for having us. I mean, what a wonderful opportunity for us to, you know, express what it is that we've been doing for many, many years now. Here we are embarking on our Badass Women Festival, and you are an honorary alumni of Badass Women, which started in 2001. So I'm going through my archives right now, and I'm seeing your wonderful images of different performances that you did at BAD, and truly grateful to you for being a part of our organization and that revolution that we were sparking back then, and that continues to this day.
I know, I gotta thank you for saying that, Arthur, because I just adore you both you and Charles Rice Gonzalez, and the work that we did, and really the risk that we took at a time that I want to say we were introducing like this unique form of expression to audience members that weren't necessarily used to that style of communicating, right? And so. Right. And even terms such as Badass Women, which, you know, that's the name of the festival. That's the name the festival has always been. And I remember there was a time that we would need to alter the title because it wasn't appropriate or acceptable. And whereas even now, the LGBTQ community at that time is LGBTQ plus now, but at that time, there wasn't really a space. And BAD was founding that and creating that, and to see that you've been able to sustain it and have become like this huge, I mean, a very important cultural institution to maintain that form of expression, as well as that freedom to just be being whomever it is that you want to be. And that to me has always been my beauty and most memorable moments, the beauty and most memorable moments of participating in anything related to BAD. So thank you, thank you, thank you. But we're here to talk about where BAD is now and what you're showcasing this year, Badass Women. It's always a blast. And I love that you also have some other alums that are presenting in this year's Badass Women Festival.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, we've been going for a few weeks now because we're into the Women's Month, right? And we just want to make sure that we're making sure that we're stepping up to the plate and presenting dance, film, and now we also have a book event that we're going to be presenting. And also, just so that people know, you know, we ask for vaccination, but we also make sure that the masks are in place at this moment. Hopefully these things are going to change and open up. But, you know, people are willing, you know, if they're willing, they can go over to the concession and go get some seltzer water and something to drink or a little snack or something like that before a show. And it's there at BAD. So, you know, it's just wants to be a welcoming space for everybody to come in as these times change. The audiences have been trickling in little by little. Everyone's thinking about getting off their couches.
Right. Well, you know, it's going to take a little something. I was going to ask you what that's been like for you as well. I mean, not you personally, but the BAD as it's an institute, what that's been like, you know, I mean, that had to be extra work to convert everything into virtual presentations and now bringing it back to in person, which is really what you are. You're, you know, an actual physical space. The experience, obviously, there's no comparison to experiencing something this way versus being in person. And thank you for sharing that. You're also taking safety precautions in that capacity as well. However, having this all like now come into full-fledged, okay, we're going back to normal. How has that been for even the performers? Are people not wearing masks? Like, I'm just curious, like what that's been like for everybody.
Well, thank you for that. It's really, it's been very trying for all of us. But I feel like people have been very respectful when coming into BAD, when coming into our organization. And I feel slowly we are doing our best to follow the science and making sure that things are as safe as possible. We want everyone from our organization to be safe. We're happy to say that the guidelines that we have put in place have kept our space safe. We have an AATT Academy, which is our 6 to 9-year-old athletic dance program that brings children into our space. And at one point, they were not vaccinated. So we all had to wear our masks. The children, we wanted them to come into the space physically and really have this experience. And we're happy to say that from that, there were no cases. We, you know, knock on wood, that went through a whole semester, and we're continuing this semester also. Like I said, slowly we're bringing in small groups of people to gather and taking it from there. And like I said, people have been very respectful, so I'm really grateful.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, that's generally the kind of audience you have anyway. And the other thing I wanted to make sure everybody's aware of is that, you know, it's called the Badass Women Festival. However, it's kind of like non-binary and all-inclusive. So just share with everyone what you experienced in this past month, because I mean, we are at the end of the month, but I also understand that you still have arts and some other experiences people can still come through for.
That's right. So yeah, what we have been presenting is really important, that BAD keeps its ear to the ground. And the way people are identifying themselves is changing. And we want to be respectful to that also. I mean, the more people identify themselves as something other than, the better, and we want to find out what that is. And if you come to BAD, Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance, you will see more of that. So let's see, on March 5th, we presented Tamara Williams and Linda La, who are two Bronx trans women of color, dancers, and they're from the Bronx. You know, they gave us some really prolific ideas about like what it means to explore the themes of love and mortality and femininity. And it's always fascinating and important for us to just make sure we're on top of that. So there was that. And then there was Storey Michelle. It's a film called Mama Rose, you know, an Afrofuturist, queer, circular time traveling film. You know, it's following stories of non-binary teen named Sid and their trans archaeologist grandmother. And it's Mama Rose. And, you know, they shared the journey towards, you know, mending like their intergenerational wounds, you know, through VHS archives and past and present and future times. So that was a fun event. And we had Annabella Lenzu, who is a really wonderful dance artist who showed us some films, and Marta Renzi. And then, you know, now we're going to have more, you know, and many different incarnations of what it means to be a woman.
I love it. I love it. So before we go, we only have a few more minutes, and there's still, you know, the month of March hasn't ended yet. And I understand you have some dance concerts coming up. So really quickly, what can people look forward to seeing for the remainder of the month?
Okay, great. Yeah. On Friday, March 25th, that's very soon, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, like a couple of hours away in the evening.
That's right. I love that. So it's the Bangladeshi Academy of Fine Arts, BAFA, and it's led by Marjia Sharidi. She's a Bronx-based artist who, you know, has a real mesmerizing classical Indian dance and Kathak, Bharatanatyam, as well as Bangladeshi folk dance. And, you know, it's a full evening of works, and it's going to have sharp and graceful movements, compelling footwork. And she's got her own group right there in Parkchester. So she'll be at BAD on the 25th. Tickets are $20, but, you know, we have sliding scale. If people feel as if that's too much, call us up, let us know. We're free to our 10461 area code. We're free at BAD, but call us up if you really wanted to come and you don't have the $20. That's fine with us. There's also Soul Sisters. Yeah, there's Soul Sisters Badass Women Dance compilation. And we have some really wonderful performers like Shizu Homa, and we have Caroline Rivera, and Shizu's been with us for a long time. So these are wonderful artists. Then our last event is that event is March 26th. So 25th, tonight.
26th,
Then 26, and now the March 30th, Reclaiming Your Neighborhood. It's a book signing of a MacArthur Award Fellow and Peabody Award winning Majora Carter. She's the author, and she's a really wonderful environmentalist in the Boogie Down. She bought she created the Boogie Down Grind, which is a coffee house in Hunts Point. And she's going to be doing some readings from her book, and she's going to do some book signings. So come on, buy a book. It's a beautiful book, Reclaiming Your Neighborhood. You know,
I know we had her on the show. So it's lovely that you guys are hosting her and that people can actually go and meet her up close and personal. I think the book is very important and very needed during these times. And Arthur, I can't thank you enough for the work that you continue to do within our borough, within the community, the LGBTQ community, within the next generation. And we're so happy to share BAD's grand reopening of in-person performances here on Open, and we can't wait to hear what else you got coming next. Everybody, once again, Arthur Velez, Artistic Director of the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance. And if you're interested in visiting and or being an audience member for the remainder of the Badass Women Festival, you can either go to their website, which is badbronx.org, or you can just show up at 2474 Westchester Ave in the Bronx. And don't forget to check them out on Instagram at bad Bronx. All right. Stay tuned because Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
It's all about celebrating women's history makers here at the New York Botanical Garden.
Being recognized by the first Black woman borough president and Vanessa Gibson, who's a dear friend and sister to me, just means the world to me.
It's Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson's first Women's History Month celebration, where she is counted among those breaking barriers as the first woman and African American elected since the office was formed in 1898. Among the honorees, Dr. Maisha Ross Porter, the first African American woman to run the nation's largest public school system, with sights now on focusing on her home borough.
I will be Monday leading the Bronx Community Foundation as their inaugural CEO and president.
I'm really honored to be here tonight.
The list went on from educators to youth leaders. Here's Yasmin Muthana, committed to educational excellence.
Right now I'm applying to colleges. I applied to 27 and got accepted to 14.
It was all about empowering women and recognizing others shattering invisible glass ceilings, something Marty Esperanza Wong, executive director of Amplify Her, founded in 2018, understands and is committed to working through.
This was a big year for New York City. We welcomed in the first ever majority women's city council. We supported now Councilwoman Marjorie Velasquez and Purina Sanchez, who both ran wonderful campaigns here in the Bronx.
It was a challenge to prepare for this job. It was mostly a mental challenge, but I was ready for it.
It's not only in the world of politics. Fire Lieutenant Joanne Diaz is the first Latina in the New York City Fire Department's 157-year history. She brought this powerful message to young people.
If you're dedicated and willing to work hard, the FDNY has its doors open for you.
The evening, emceed by WPIX TV's Monica Morales of Monica Makes It Happen, was also an opportunity to recognize New York City's first and only administration with two women at the helm, Borough President Gibson and Deputy Borough President Janet Piguero.
Women are leading in their households, in their jobs, in their schools, in their communities every day, and have finally just taken the leap and said, we're also going to lead in all these other ways, and elected office is one of them.
So this is what it's all about. We're celebrating Her Story Month here at the Botanical Garden. Arlene Makoko for BronxNet.
And we go dancing to kickstart this 5-on-5. In at number 5, St. Peter's has been the story in March Madness. The small MAC school broke the hearts of Kentuckians yet again, getting 17 points from KC Nadefo to beat Murray State 70-60 last Saturday night in the second round of the NCAA tournament and complete their rise from obscurity into the Sweet 16. 2 days after tossing 8-time national champion Kentucky out of the bracket, the tiny Jesuit school from Jersey City, New Jersey, the locals, became the third 15 seed to advance to a regional semifinal, joining Oral Roberts last year and Florida Gulf Coast in 2013. To boot, coming off the bench for the Peacocks is freshman Jalen Murray from the Bronx. They play third-seeded Purdue tonight in Philadelphia. Tip-off is 7:09 p.m. Go, Peacocks, go. Plenty of Bronx connections in March Madness, even if some of them likely busted your bracket, folks. In the fourth spot, how about a Bronx coach making some moves this time of year? Miami got out early and never trailed against Auburn, one of the early season darlings of college basketball. The Hurricanes look like the number 2 seed, not Auburn. The BX's own Jim Larinaga is going back to the Sweet 16 for the third time at Miami and the fourth time in his career. The Hurricanes got 21 points from point guard Isaiah Wong and held Auburn to just 30% shooting. 10th-seeded Miami will now play number 11 Iowa State in the late game tonight in March Madness. March isn't just about college basketball, though, folks, especially now that baseball is back. The Yanks were in on the Freddie Freeman sweepstakes at first base, but opted to re-sign Anthony Rizzo on a 2-year deal. Freddie, meantime, signs with the mighty LA Dodgers, his hometown. The Yanks bringing back Rizzo meant that favorite Luke Voit was available. He was traded to San Diego for 20-year-old right-hander Justin Lang, the 34th overall pick in the 2020 amateur draft. The 31-year-old right-handed power hitter Voit led the major leagues with 22 home runs during the pandemic-shortened 2020 season when he hit .277 with 52 RBIs. Since then, injuries have certainly derailed his Yankee career. Sad to see him go, but I like Rizzo, and I like the fact that Voit gets to play for a contender out west. Lang is a flamethrower. He was throwing over 100 miles per hour in high school. If he can harness it, he'll be a player for the Bombers in the very near future. The talent is there. The Yankee moves take the 3 spot here on 5 on 5. Their neighbors at the big ballpark in the Bronx, NYCFC, come in at number 2. The Philadelphia Union avenged last year's Eastern Conference final defeat with a 2-0 victory over New York City FC at Yankee Stadium last Saturday afternoon. NYCFC were held scoreless for the 3rd time in their 4 regular season matches, 4 days after the defending MLS Cup champions secured passage to their first CONCACAF Champions League semifinals. Big news for them.
I mean, obviously, it wasn't the way we wanted to play, especially in the last half an hour maybe. But that's how it is. I mean, we talk to each other, especially the young players. A lot of them was the first game in Central America away. I know those games. It's always very tough. There is just a lot of stuff going on outside the game that's maybe distracting you, but you just have to grow from those experiences. And I think this is the most important part. But for me, after the game, I mean, the most important thing is we went through to the semifinal, and that's how it is. I don't care. Like, seriously, it's not in my head. I just want to play the next game, win the next game, and then we look forward.
Can't win them all, folks, but if you are the New York Rangers, winning many of them is certainly the trend. Hence, number 1 here on the front end of 5 on 5. 5 stories that you may have missed, and then, of course, 5 to watch out for in the days ahead. The Broadway Blue Shirts are 2nd in the Metropolitan Division and have continued to rack up the wins. They defeated Carolina 2-0 on Sunday to close out last week. Here's more with the Rangers.
No, I'd like to say we come in there and played a great game and that, but last night was a great game. Today was a great goaltender who was unbelievable and made great saves, and we were a tired hockey team. You know, I'm not holding any punches back. We get in at 2 o'clock in the morning. We got to play a 6 o'clock game from playing a good game last night, and they were all over us. They dominated, but we found a way to get 2 points. So it was it's a huge 2 points for us, and you know, we'll take it. We'll go home and have a day off tomorrow and be happy with it.
I think that room is you know, a bunch of will and knowing what it takes to win. I think if you've watched this team throughout the year, I've stayed close attention to them and playing against some of the bunches. They're a hard team to play against. Throughout the whole lineup, they compete night in, night out. Can play defense, can score goals. I think they have a great mix of everyone in this lineup, and I'm just happy to be here and be a part of it and help this team win.
To the back end of 5 on 5 we go. 5 on tap here, and at number 1, Formula One, and more specifically Ferrari, is back. Charles Leclerc claimed a commanding victory at the season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix last weekend after preseason favorites Red Bull had both cars retire from the race with engine problems, make it a 1-2 for Ferrari. 1-2, Carlos Sainz followed to complete Ferrari's first 1-2 finish in more than 2 years. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is this Sunday, 1 p.m. our time on ESPN. We'll see the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 come together in March Madness this weekend too. Check your local listings for a complete list of games. You can also head on over to ncaa.com for more information. At 3, the Yanks take on the Phillies in spring training today. After Philadelphia, they have Toronto and Pittsburgh this weekend. And in the 4th spot, the Mets will have Houston tonight, Washington and St. Louis Saturday and Sunday, respectively. And last, but certainly not least, on this date in Bronx sports history, it was a year ago today that we said goodbye to one of the greatest under-the-radar Yankees of all time. Dr. Bobby Brown, the Yankee infielder who played on 4 World Series championship teams while pursuing a career in medicine, quit baseball at age 29 to open a cardiology practice, and later served as president of the American League. He died 1 year ago today at his home in Fort Worth, Texas. He was 96 years young. Brown usually missed spring training because of his studies, and he was often platooned by manager Casey Stengel, but he proved a crucial figure at the plate for the Pinstripers by the time the Fall Classic rolled around. He had a .439 batting average in October with 18 hits, including 5 doubles and 3 triples, while appearing in the World Series every year but one from 1947 through 1951. Brown received a medical degree from Tulane University in 1950 and left the Yankees in the summer of 1952 for medical service in the Army during the Korean War. That's one great life lived. To the C-list we go for a guy I believe that could be an under-the-radar addition for this year's Yankees. My Bronx Player of the Week. I told you that I was excited about the Bronx Bombers' new shortstop, Isiah Kiner-Falefa, and he certainly did not disappoint in his first spring training action. Kiner-Falefa was the Yankee shortstop for the first 4.5 innings of their first spring training game last Friday and was 2 for 3 with a double, batting leadoff. It was an exciting day for Kiner-Falefa. He grew up in Honolulu, Hawaii, dreaming of playing for the Bronx Bombers. Don't we all? He traveled to New York City for the first time at the young age of 11 back in 2006 for a baseball tournament and was able to attend a couple of Yankee games at the old Yankee Stadium. Highlights there included sitting in the outfield stands and being a loud bleacher creature the night Mariano Rivera picked up his 400th career save. Kiner-Falefa was so excited and nervous about his first Yankee game that he had trouble sleeping the night before. He's a big Derek Jeter fan, and he hopes to follow in that tradition of shortstops in the Bronx. I think his tenure in Pinstripes is off to a pretty good start indeed. That's your look at sports. I'm Bobby C.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Open. Our last guest is a poet, author, and multifaceted artist whose soothing voice combines spoken word, storytelling, and melody into a rhythmic experience. She's performed and toured in major cities across the US and Europe and is the creator of Self-Talk Platform and Vow to Self podcasts. Her debut book, Brown Butter, a collection of poems, journals, thoughts, and vows to self-explore the evolving phases of love, joys, grief, healing, self-worth, and acceptance. Last year, she released her debut EP, Flow, and, well, she's here to share more. Please welcome poet and spoken word artist, Mel Shante.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, welcome. Welcome. We're happy to have you.
Yeah.
If only we could open up with one of your affirmation meditations, but we will talk about it so that we can hopefully enroll people into wanting to experience it themselves. And I do want to say, Mel, this is my first time meeting you. I really enjoyed your spoken word, as well as your meditation in this place, in the space of just not only relating as a fervent meditator myself, but just having a certain style. You got your own flavor going on. So let's talk about that, right? Because the first thing I thought about was Diggable Planets.
I love them. It's the vibe. It's definitely a vibe. They're a vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. And so obviously you're living it and breathing it. So what got you into all of this?
Well, I've been writing poems since I was younger, since I was 11. My father was also a poet, and so I've just always been in writing. I've always been in the arts. I've always journaled. I've always kind of turned to words as something that comforted me and helped me get through things. So it's been something that's been instilled in me since I was younger, I'd say. Yeah.
And so you understand the power of words, right? You understand the importance of us choosing our words mindfully, and so the way you've expanded from having your poetry book and doing your music, and now having these. I know it's meditation, but it's more than meditation, because what I experienced was that self-talk, right? So obviously you titled it Vow to Self. And so yourself in choosing to record it and share it, is this something that you thought you were going to be doing, or is it, how did it evolve into that, is I guess what I'm asking.
No, actually, it just was, it kind of evolved like little by little. I had this idea. Well, I heard the word vow to self. I heard those words in my head. And so I was like, vow to self, that's interesting. And so like, I just went to check to see if it was available on Instagram. So I just got the page, even though I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet. But I was always like writing things down, you know, and I think the idea of a vow is kind of like, not just like, you know, a wedding vow, but something that you say to yourself to kind of solidify you, to keep you on track, you know, to keep that vision for yourself. And so it's been something that I've learned to do through my performing my poetry, because I would get so nervous. So I would have to kind of say things to myself to kind of ground me and get rid of the nerves a bit, and like, remember, you know, this is why I'm here. I can do this. It's possible, you know, like I have the power within me. I had to keep kind of feeding myself these things. And then it kind of just started to develop into Vow to Self. I created the Instagram page. I posted there. I posted on there, and I also allow people to DM me their affirmations, so then I can post it on the page as well, just to keep the self-talk inspiration flowing. And then I came out with the podcast around like last year or so. So it's still new, you know? And yeah, it's just been a journey, taking it day by day.
Yeah, but it was a lovely experience. And I'm bringing it up because you have this flavor and this, when you hear podcasts, the first thing that one thinks is, oh, this is going to be a discussion of some sort. And then when you get there, it's like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful treat. It's only a few minutes. Yeah, no, I mean, not that, you know, everybody gets to choose whatever podcast they want to listen to. But usually it's like extensive talking. And so to visit your podcast, it was like, oh, 5 minutes. Like, wow, 5 minutes of being with self, listening to the beautiful sound of your voice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I like podcasts, but I think the way that I digest information is kind of in bits. And so I thought that I didn't really want it, well, not yet at least. I didn't want to have like people on there yet. You know, I just kind of wanted it to be simple, keep it easy. Yeah.
And it's needed too. And the reason I'm really harping on it is because, again, when I did visit, I thought, wow, this is something I would love to start my day with, right? You have enough in there to at least cover a week, right? And so, and the way it's been presented is almost like, I want to say you can repurpose it, right? It's something that you could start all over or play them in different order so that it's just suiting whatever it is that you're feeling in that day. So I love it. I love where you're going with it. And I know that you also have music and your EP, and you're going to be performing for us later. This is one particular phrase that stood out for me. I think it's in the song Magnificent. It's like, wait. I don't know. I mean, we're going to hear it later, but it just really stood out with me. If you're not in the light,
anyone who's blind to the light gets the deuce. Yes. Anyone who's blind to the light gets the deuce. Yes.
All right.
But it's like peace, like, you know, also like they send them peace, you know, even if you give them the deuce sign. So yeah.
Right. So there's a double connotation there. But the point is that blind to the light, meaning right? No, you know, I'm like reading into everything that you're doing.
No, I'm here for it.
You're coming from this mindful place that I think we need so much of right now, but you do it in such a chill manner that it's kind of like, yeah, you know, like it ain't that serious, but it is something to take into consideration.
Yeah, for sure. No, I like that perspective.
Yeah. And so if you're blind to the light, you know, you get the deuces, which is like sending you peace regardless.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I wrote it, to be honest, I wrote it after I was in a situation and I just didn't feel as valued, you know? And so I was carrying that energy and I had to shift the energy. And so I wrote this poem as like an affirmation, and then it turned into a song that is magnificent.
It's lovely. And we're so excited that you're going to be sharing it with our viewers today.
Yeah.
And thank you for engaging in this conversation with us.
Of course. No, thank you.
Do you have any last words you want to say?
Any last words? You can listen to the Vow to Self podcast on all podcast platforms. You can get a copy of my book, Brown Butter, on my website, melshante.com, and listen to my EP, Flow. You can stream it everywhere.
All right. So you can listen to it, but we don't want you to go anywhere because she's going to give us a taste, because when we return, Mel Shante is going to perform Magnificent. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Here now to perform Magnificent. Please welcome Mel Shante.
I'm a magnificent divine soul, worth way more than anything type gold. Everything you pray for in a goddess type glow. A queen who got that brown but a poetry type flow. Super wavy but don't try to rock my boat. Energy the highest frequency, on top I stay afloat. Words from me to me, consider this a self-love note. My essence be eternal, baby, in case you ain't known. I'm beautiful and intellectual, plus I'm close to God, so my presence spiritual. I cook bomb food, everything about me bomb too. It's true. So anyone who's blind to the light gets the deuce. Anyone who's blind to the light gets the deuce. Anyone who's blind to the light gets the deuce. Anyone who's blind to the light gets the deuce. I'm a magnificent divine soul, worth way more than anything type gold. Everything you pray for in a goddess type glow. A queen who got that brown butter poetry type flow.
A queen who got that brown butter poetry type flow. Yes, that was Mel Shante, everyone. And her debut EP, Flow, is available on all music streaming services. And for more on Mel Shante, you can visit melshante.com and on social media at Mel Shante. All right, that is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through. To you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recablecast tonight and 24 hours a day at bronxnet.tv. I'm Rena Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor, y seguimos pa'lante. Happy Women's History Month.